Before we continue, I'd just like to take this opportunity to say, holy crap, new Pokemon game announced for 3DS, yes. Wait a second, this is a Fire Emblem playthrough. Okay, forget I said that. Holy crap, Fire Emblem Awakening is released coming out this year, yes. Okay, it's official. 2013 is going to be the best year ever. Right, now back to the actual game. So after surviving the battle in the past, let's move on to the final battle. No, that can't be right. No, that definitely can't be right, can it? Because, you know, there's no way they'd end the game on such an uneven number as Chapter 19. Other than that, well, I mean, seriously, there's no way this is the actual final chapter, because all the plot points haven't been resolved yet. So, yeah, the title of this chapter is pretty misleading. Yeah, it really should have been called The Final Battle, ? Anyway, though, this is getting close to the final battle for Arcadia itself. And so, yeah, apparently a coup has broken out there because, yeah, they can't stand being under an obviously evil tyrant anymore. And Media led it, but unfortunately they didn't announce anything because she's a crappy promote, and so obviously she was captured. Again. Yeah, she... There's a bit of a thing with Media, I'll talk about that later, but... For all her reputation, she, yeah, kinda doesn't really achieve much in the series. But anyway, we're thrust straight into the preparation screen, no conversation with Jacob, nothing like that. Let's check this out. Here we have a whole bunch of warriors here, and this town here is Norda. Yeah, I've probably talked about Norda before. Hopefully Norda is a bit better than it used to be. Basically, this is where Katarina grew up, and so here we have some horsemen. What? Uh-oh. Hey, you weren't here in the original game? Okay, so a bunch of thieves, a lot of ballisticians. These ballisticians all have pachyderms now, which is the strongest ballista, so that is gonna hurt. And they've got some pretty nice stats to boot. Bishops with fortify staffs, you know. And, oh, hey! You're back. Yes, now, judging by this, also we have a boss who's totally not a melodrama villain. And he has a stat over 20. Which, yeah, like I've said, in normal mode, the only time enemies get stats over 20 is the final chapter itself. So, yeah, I'm a little surprised to see stats above 20. So, yeah, but you'll only see them this early if you're playing on hard. Anyway, we're doing House Everyone here, getting some supports, well, yeah, getting some supports up. Don't know what his fascination with Pickle is. Glass lance there. Okay, I think this deserves a bit of explaining. I actually didn't think I'd end up being able to show this in this playthrough, but it looks like House Everyone has actually decided to give me this, so I guess I should talk about this. This is one of these interesting translation decisions that the team have done, and it's something that I was really looking forward to seeing how they handle, because when I read this in Japanese, yeah, this is one of those things that's an absolute nightmare to translate. Now, okay, you probably know who Mama is. That's Tiki's nickname for Ma in the English localized version of Shadow Dragon. But who's Tartar? Well, given that this is the event that gets Tiki's friendship up with my unit, well, yeah, so, it seems pretty obvious that Tartar is of course referring to my unit. But why is that the case? Well, there's a bit of a long story behind this, and I'll just try and explain it as best I can. Now, in the Japanese version, Tiki has a pretty unique, speech quirk. Well, not so much of a speech quirk, but like a character tick, sort of. Essentially, she refers to everyone using specific Japanese honorifics. Basically, she calls Bantu or Ji-chan, which is like an affectionate term for grandfather, and she calls Ma or Ni-chan, which is, again, an affectionate term for older brother. It's the kind of language you'd see a young kid use, and so what happened was, the English localization of Shadow Dragon decided to, again, localize as best they could by having her give sort of childish nicknames to everyone. She calls Bantu Ban Ban, and Ma Mama. I guess this makes sense. The problem was then this game came around, and we ran into a slight problem. Now, I'm about to get to his first support conversation. This this probably doesn't show itself in her first support conversation. It's her second support conversation where the issue arises. I actually don't think I'm going to see this in this playthrough, so, I probably won't actually be showing this. But from what I remember, I have no idea how the team actually localized this one, but, I mean, props to them for actually doing it, because when I read this in Japanese, I was like, oh god, how are they going to be able to localize this? Because this whole thing with the Mama, the Oni-chan to Mama, made a lot of sense at the time. Then came this game. Now, in the second support with my unit Tiki, in the Japanese version, Tiki discusses giving my unit an sort of nickname, but it's more like an honorary thing. She asks if they'd like to be called Oni-chan like Ma, or Ji-chan like Bantu, or Summer like Goto. Now, here's where we run into problems. Tiki has no nickname for Goto in the English localization. And, yeah. Also, the correlation between, again, Oni-chan or Ji-chan and Summer, they're all Japanese honorifics. Of course, Goto's title in the English localization is still Lord Goto, which is a pretty direct translation of Summer. Unfortunately, that has absolutely no relation to Oni-chan and Ji-chan, so it completely kind of destroys that support, and yeah, that would be a nightmare to localize. Also the fact that, yes, Tiki starts referring to my unit as either or Ni-chan if male, or Ne-chan if female, I presume. I haven't actually seen one on Root that she mentioned female, because I haven't played a female my unit in the Japanese version. But, anyway, what the Heroes of Shadow translation team decided to do here is, there was always tossing up over what they should do here with the my unit's title. Whether one discussion was Nai, short for Night, one was Muru, which is, of course, the first two letters of my unit contracted. And they took it to vote, but it turns out they've actually done something that was completely against every option in the whole vote. It turns out they've gone with Tartar. Tar is short for Avatar, and yes, this is a reference to the My Unit system being localized to Avatar in Fire Emblem Awakening. So, I guess this is a kind of nice touch, even though it is a little bit wall-breaking. But you probably won't realize this until unless you know about the rest of the series. So yeah, this was the best they could do to localize this whole speech thing of Tiki. And I give them props for it because it is a very, very difficult thing to do, believe me. Localizing honorifics is sometimes it can be a nightmare. I mean, often it can be simple, but sometimes you get these situations where you think you're onto a good localization at the time, and then a sequel comes out, and then you realize the original Japanese word had a different meaning than you originally thought, and they use it in a very different way. This happens quite often in anime and manga translations as well. Sometimes you get an innocent thing that you're like, oh, we'll localize it to this in an early episode, and then it's only later on that the full significance of the nickname is revealed, and, well, you get problems. But anyway, I've probably gone on as much as I can on this. Sorry, I'm just into translation theory and that. But anyway, props to the Heroes of Shadow for actually finding a way to localize this. So, yeah, back to the actual chapter then. And so Tiki became closer to my unit. Right, and that was actually enough for a support. So, we'll be seeing Tiki and Marisu 1, but again, like I said, the real interesting stuff doesn't come until the second conversation. Anyway, now, here Jagan is talking about the Wolfguard whose forces withdrew yesterday. Now, in the original Mystery of the Emblem, once Wolf and the others retreated, they were never seen again. In this game, yes, the Wolfguard's role has been greatly expanded. And this chapter, I will say, as a result, is probably one of the most radically changed from the original. I mean, the actual map itself is the same, the way it works is mostly the same, but story-wise, and there's actually a whole new thing that's been added to this chapter, and it actually, really changes how the map plays. So basically, in the original Mystery of the Emblem, Roshi was the only member of the Wolfguard who defected. In this game, well, you'll see. You'll see in a little bit. But suffice to say, it was a good thing we didn't kill any of the Wolfguard back in the last chapter. In the original Mystery of the Emblem, you could feel free to kill Vile and Sega and Wolf back there if you wanted to. This game, you don't want to do that, trust me, because, well, you'll see. So, basically, yeah, we've got, the Wolfguard here, but how we're going to recruit them? Well, again, you'll see. Sorry, I don't want to spoil anything, really. But this chapter, yeah, it can be a little annoying if you're a perfectionist. And it can be a bit annoying in general, because it's also got this other annoying thing about it, which you'll see eventually. You see, this chapter has a whole lot of reinforcements. You know the last map had no reinforcements? Well, yeah, that was a bit of a breather, because, this one is going to have lots and lots of reinforcements. Anyway, so, this is the first support, and, well, this one is kind of a little different than I expected. Interesting. Old apples, are you sure it's okay to eat old apples even if they're fried? Anyway. I did mention that Tiffy's sprite is different in this game. Sorry, I'm actually not thinking much to talk about in this conversation. But this is actually going to be one of our... This has been our first support for a while, and because I've maxed out the supports on everyone in my actual party, yeah, we probably won't be seeing many, except maybe Julian 3. I might be able to get Julian to 3 by the end of the game, I don't know. There may be one more support I can do, but I'll explain how I can do that later. That's another one of those downloadable content items that I'll show off, but the thing about that one is, I want to use that as late as I possibly can. Anyway, yeah, we're talking about the fact that she can turn into a scary dragon, and a pretty powerful one. Anyway, right then, let's check here. We've got the 12 deployment count back again, so we can bring everyone to this chapter. And, well, there's no one we need for recruiting, so we can pretty much use everyone. So Militia is going to be back for this chapter, and she will put herself to good use, actually. Now, I actually kept Mary Sue as a Draco Knight for this one. In hindsight, I really shouldn't have, because there's a whole lot of archers, well, not so much archers, but horsemen. Yeah, there are a lot of horsemen in this chapter, and now that Elwyn has still C. Sorry, I'm used to my, I've recorded ahead, in my late game files, his staff rank is a lot higher than that, but anyway, that means he's gonna have his work cut out for him in this chapter. Yeah, I'll just give him the physics staff, because we should probably break out the good staff. Speaking of good staff, it's finally time, I think, to break out the fortified staff. I mean, it is the final battle after all, or who am I kidding? Of course it isn't. This chapter does not do a good job into tricking you into thinking it's the final chapter. It is not the final chapter, seriously. Again, why would they end the game on chapter 19? That's a far too uneven number to... Don't need the member card, there are no secret shops here. Fast is almost max strength and skill, in fact. And he's 5 points off maxing HP, and he's finally ready to graduate to steel bows. This may be as far as he goes in the playthrough, but still, even steel bows are massively powerful with that huge strength behind them. And 24 speed is actually decent enough to double those things, at least in regular or hard. 23 is a little, yeah. Yeah, Katria starts having problems doubling starting from this point, but she makes up for it by having good movement, good defense, and hitting hard, while still hitting hard. Like, I mean, yeah, she's one of the most versatile characters in the game, really, and she joins in Chapter 2, and, wow, he's pretty amazing. You know what, honestly, I'm probably never going to end up using those glass swords, because at this point, yeah, they're basically silver weapons with only 3 uses. You want to use those at the beginning of the game, because once silver weapons become available, they're kind of pointless. Except they are cheaper to forge, but because I prefer to spend my money on the drill grounds, just because I want to end this playthrough with everyone level 20, and you might think, wow, how are you going to do that, given that everyone's only level 9? Well, you see, there's a lot of experience to be had in this chapter and the following chapter. Not quite as much as the dragon chapters, but enemies start giving massive amounts of experience pretty soon. And because of that, we are actually going to get a lot of level ups in the next few chapters. Now, what I'm doing here is, I thought finally it's time to convoy my 3 silver weapons. With hindsight, this is probably not a good idea, because, while the weapons are on the characters, they're not taking up space in the convoy, and, it took me a little while to discover the unload all option. Yep, there it is, I can discover it now. Yeah, so I've got the unload all option, and don't unload her, I'm going to need those dragonstones later. Yeah, less silver weapons from now on, but that killer bow is nice, I'll be taking that. Oh, silver axe, I'll take that. You're already unloaded. I will take Excalibur. Ironically enough, Elrond will probably be ready to use that soon, which is kind of funny considering, unload you, unload you, unload you, and wait, what? First I was thinking maybe you can't unload these items because they're unique, but then I realized the convoy is actually full. I don't believe this. I filled up my convoy. I don't think I've ever done that before in a Fire Emblem game. So I'm just realizing, you know what? It may be a good idea to sell some of this excess stuff. I might not be needing as many weapons like later on, so I'm gonna sell some stuff for some cash. I apologize in advance for this video now being 15 minutes of just preparations, but yeah, preparations will probably get shorter from here on because I won't need to do all this convoying and selling and all this stuff. But basically, yeah, I want to make a little bit of cheap cash. I'm probably, again, like, look at all these silver lances. Like I said earlier, you don't really need to buy silver weapons from shops because you get so many just from recruitable characters that, again, yeah, you get really more than you'll ever need. Annoyingly, Hound Everyone weapons always sell for 0 gold. They actually do have a worth value, but that's only used when calculating forging costs. So technically speaking, while Serena's Forest lists that they do have a worth, yeah, they're always, they're programmed so they'll always sell for 0 gold, which is basically there to stop you from selling joke weapons for cash. You might also notice the Devil Axe and Devil Sword also sell for 0 gold, because, yeah, that's kind of annoying. And I probably won't need these Nosferatus because I'm not really using the female mage, and I will get rid of that Firestone because I'm not going to use Bantu. Ha ha ha! Yeah, Bantu sucks. I'm not going to use. Oh, that's interesting. The Warp Staff sells for 0 gold. Funnily enough, kind of like how the Master Ball sells for 0 in the Pokemon series. It's like you technically can sell it, but the game's telling you, you don't want to sell this. Kind of funny though, because the Master Ball selling for 0 means that if you hack the game so you can buy it, you will actually buy it for 0, but this is, again, not a Pokemon playthrough, this is a Fire Emblem playthrough. And I did not realize I had this many vulneraries. I'm like, okay, I'm selling so many of them, but I'm still not even close to seeing the end of them. I guess you get a whole bunch of random drops off enemies with vulneraries, but still, I mean, this is a lot of vulneraries, and I'm actually making quite a bit of cash selling these. I mean, I'm not really going to need much of them considering how good my healers are now. They're more useful in the early game. Not selling any of those stat boosters, definitely not selling those. I'm going to need those arm scrolls later. Yeah, I'm definitely going to need those arm scrolls later. Definitely won't sell those. Okay, I might sell a few of those. Yeah, okay, I'm going to sell the Elysian Whip just because, I'm not going to need that. And of course, you can't sell the Light Sphere, otherwise you'd make the game unplayable. So, yeah, I'm selling that Elysian Whip, because again, I'm not actually going to be using that, so I might want to keep 1 or 2 Master Seals just on hand, just for the final chapter, because there's a certain character who, promoting him immediately might help his survival a little bit. Now, I apologize in advance if this part is a bit boring. Basically, since so many of my characters ended the last chapter, like really close to leveling up, but not actually leveling up, I decided to finish off their level ups in the drill ground. That way I can reset for good stat gains. So I spent quite a while resetting for good stat gains, actually. So I'll just cut everything that I had to reset and just stick to the good level ups. So, I'll accept that. This reminds me of those times back in Path of Radiance. I mean, those few of you who saw that playthrough. I wasn't actually commentating on that one, but I just did it really for fun, that really. It just reminds me of when I was resetting for games with bonus experience. Yeah, I had a lot of, sometimes that took me a while, a lot longer than I would have liked. And how dare you double Ryan, eat a critical. Now, I mostly also did this just to make sure that Ryan gains speed. Ugh, Ryan's speed growth, seriously, it's not being kind to me this playthrough. He normally has better speed than this by now, but anyway. Now, Bast, And as Elwyn showed before, and Bars is going to show here, there's nothing against you using effective weapons in the drill ground. So you can just smash this general with pins with a hammer. What, 3-hit KO even with a hammer? Are you serious? Wow, with a hammer and almost 30, well now 30 strength, and wow. Just how much defense did that guy have? You can't see the stats of drill grounds opponents, but some of them must be pretty damn high. Except the Swordmaster's strength seems pretty damn low. I love it when someone doubles me and does no damage both times. I still think my favourite occurrence and gets critical. Then again, my favourite occurrence of this kind of thing was in Path of Radiance, when there was a Swordmaster to attack one of my characters, and I was really freaking out thinking I'd get critical. They also had a Brave Sword, so I was very scared, and the result was something along the lines of no damage, miss, no damage, miss. It was pretty funny, yeah. For some reason, why is it that enemy Swordmasters always have terrible strength? Like, yeah. Most of the time, I mean, they are hard to double, and sometimes double you, but for the most part, they can't really hurt you very much. Although the ones that have killing edges are kind of... And I decided to keep this level up just because I got resistance. You don't see that every day, especially in a game with resistance growth as low as this one. I mean, seriously, most physical classes have, like, what? Like, a resistance growth of 5% is pretty good for a physical class. So, yeah, you don't gain resistance very often. Even Headless Knights only have about 15% of their resistance growth, when in some games they have really high resistance growth, but... Anyway, yeah, don't expect physical users to have high resistance in this game, although it's balanced out by the fact that overall magic stats aren't actually that high as well in this game, so again, that kind of balances it out. Yeah, and that was a pretty decent level up for Sirius, so I'm going to keep that. Sirius is going to need to be pretty well leveled for the next chapter. I don't want to spoil anything, but he's going to need to do something. Anyway, this should be about time for me to finish up with things and start the actual chapter. Now, I might just take this time to say that I'm not sure if arena opponents scale to the difficulty level, at least in the drill grounds. I know that I've heard that the arena on Hard 5 in Shadow Dragon was pretty brutal. And the map arenas probably do scale to your difficulty, and probably on the high difficulties are ridiculous. I also just realised that Sheeta, I forgot to level up Sheeta, so she needs a level up in the arena. But anyway, so yeah, those ones were usually, could be pretty ridiculous. I guess that was, the game's way of stopping you from grinding. Although I've heard from, some of the players of Awakening I've watched that Awakening does some pretty ridiculous things just to... Oh, come on! Well, that ought to finish it. You know, in order to stop you from grinding the lunatic modes, such as Spot Pass teams, Street Pass, sorry. Street Pass teams only giving you 1 experience point per kill, and regular random encounter teams having like maxed out stats and promoted units right at the start of the game. So they're like, you know, if you thought you were going to grind, also you can't gain weapon levels in Spot Pass matches. So you're like, hey, Street Pass, sorry. Keep confusing those. Mostly probably because I don't really use either feature very much, actually, but, anyway, that should be enough here, and I'll just stop rambling about Awakening and, do some, little bit of repositioning after I save, and we should be ready after a tiny bit of repositioning to actually begin the chapter proper. So, after a bit of repositioning, we should be ready to go. Of course, just want to make sure my lower movements are around the front. And fortunately, unlike the version of this map in Shadow Dragon, none of the ballistas have effective against flyer bolts, but they're still pretty painful. Anyway, we have here, With Heads Held High, one of my favourite tracks from Shadow Dragon, and probably one of the few pieces of purely original music in that game. Probably one of my favourites out of the original Shadow Dragon tracks, like as in the ones that weren't in the original FE1 or Mystery of the Emblem. In addition to For Liberty, one of my favourite map themes, probably in the series. It's one of my favourite new tracks from Shadow Dragon, and it just gets you really pumped up for an epic battle, almost in a similar way to Flight from Path of Radiance. I love that track too, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. But yeah, this one's... and it's gone. Anyway, this theme's pretty good too though. So you want to lock in the range of the ballistas obviously, because Pachyderm hurts. It hurts a lot. and you also want Marth to hightail it over to the village as fast as possible. But since those warriors inside are actually pretty capable of doing serious damage, you want to take care of them before you actually do anything too reckless, because the warriors, yeah, they kind of hurt. So, yeah, there's a reason Marth needs to get to that village as fast as he possibly can, which you'll see in a little bit. Now, I was actually a little bit too slow. There's an event that occurs either once Marth visits the village or in a certain number of turns, whichever occurs first. I fell victim to the turn limit occurring first here, and I really needed to get Marth to the village pronto, because, yes, right, because Wolf and Sedgar are up the top of the map. Funnily enough, they were the two broken ones back in Shadow Dragon. Wolf and Sedgar, yeah. We can't quite recruit them just yet. We need someone to recruit them. And that someone isn't on the map yet. So that's partly why we need to get to the village as soon as we can. Now, of course, we've got to watch out for that one warrior there with a silver bow. That's going to rip Sheeta's head off real good. So, we've got to keep her away from that. But silver axes on these warriors are also pretty painful, especially... Well, I mean, 21 strength is pretty decent by hard mode standards at this point. I mean, I've got a warrior with 30 strength, but... Anyway. Oh, and, yeah, I apologize if sometimes it looks like I'm just pausing, not pausing, but just like sitting still on the map doing nothing. My sister was playing Kingdom Hearts at the point I recorded this, and I had to stop to give her advice occasionally. I really don't know how she's going to do with Possessed Riku, but anyway, she's not anywhere near up to that point yet. Anyway. Enough about that, and more about this. Okay, again, we're hightailing it to the village. Of course, there's no real enemies apart from those warriors down there, so, it's going to be kind of boring until we get there. But, yes, make sure we're using Athena, and I really could use a warp staff or an end staff or something, because, yeah, I could have gotten Marth of the villages, and of course, don't warp Marth of the village immediately. Those warriors will just rip them apart, unless you're really lucky to be dodging, and with this game's evasion formula, I, frankly, would not fancy my chances. Sorry, yeah, I have to make sure we're in range of at least one warrior. My W's there. Bloody restore staffs. Okay, from now on, expect just about every single bishop in the game to have a restore staff. They're really annoying. Fortunately, with their magic stats so crap, they don't heal very much. I mean, I believe Restore is just the same as a regular heal staff, it just affects every unit on the map. Of course, for enemies, since they have so many units on the map, it's really annoying when they get to heal them all at once. You know, in other games, of course, the Restore staff just, Restore, why am I saying Fortify? Sorry, I'm mixing up its Japanese name, Reserve. Anyway, Fortify staff, yeah. In the older games, it would only affect every unit within a range around you, extending to half of your magic spaces. Which, yeah, really was a bit annoying to Mist in Path of Rage you might have seen when I was fighting Ashnard. Yeah, sometimes she was out of range, which got really annoying. Like, Physic was like that too. In this game, Physic and Fortify, basically all the range staffs are infinite range, which is good because it's good for you, but also annoying when it means that the enemy can use Fortify to spam and heal everyone on the map, and yeah, I kind of wanted Sheeta to gain some experience here, but she can't use, she needs powerful weapons to make up for her low strength, and having an Eve sword means she's not too good against axe users, because her iron swords with her just do really crap damage, and I need to get rid of that thief fast. But I was overly paranoid about all those paladins. These aren't the paladins you should be worrying about. Later on, some more paladins start appearing, and those ones, yeah, you should really be concerned. But for the time being, using her in case she gets whacked by 2 silver axes at the same turn. And yeah, just making sure yeah, Fina just tends to get really high level just by dancing around the place. But I mean, with her good growth, I mean, she can be a somewhat... Well, I mean, she can hold her own at the drill grounds, and when she needs to fight, she can fight reasonably well, but you probably want to give her a lady sword to compensate for her lack of rapiers instead. So good when she had rapiers. I seriously cannot express how how useful rapiers were for her, because again, yeah, just another rapier, use it was good, and then you see a lot of paladins, especially at this point. Oh boy, oh, we're going to be seeing a lot of paladins in this chapter. Believe me, this isn't even anywhere near the extent of the amount of paladins we're going to be seeing here. And we'll be seeing some... Oh, we attacked Marth, huh? That would have done a lot if it had actually hit. Good thing I'm on a forest. Now, I'm wondering if those pills are... Oh, crap. It was at this point that I realized, yeah, Mary Sue doesn't have a IoT shield. It's really annoying having only one. Usually I only use 2 wires at most, so that's probably why I'm not used to having a third. Again, you'll see the part of the radio that generally use 2 wires. Usually Marsha and Jill, but in the case of the playthrough I was doing, it was Marsha and Tanith, because hey, I like Tanith's reinforcement skill. I mean, Tanith on her own is not the best, but Ogmar's getting hit an awful lot, and, well... But the Earth Sphere is ensuring he gets a lot of criticals. Wow, that low... Is that 18% accuracy with weapon triangle advantage? Now that is amazing. Now that is the kind of evasion I like to see from the Swordmaster. Okay, those thieves have to die now, and I've got to get to that village fast. A good thing Sheeta's really good at killing thieves, but anyway. Right then. Yes, I was paranoid about those paladins, but now that they're lured over to where we are, this should be fine, except, I might as well use this. Yeah, now, one thing to note, if you want to use the Fortify staff in this game, you have to select the special option from the menu. I think that's due to the way, for some reason in this game, I think Shadow Dragon had it, but in this game they've abolished the whole, selecting your weapons via a menu system. As you'll notice here, I actually haven't said this all game, but, you'll figure this out if you play it. But basically, you have to use the X and Y buttons to switch weapons, equip weapons during combat, and to switch staves when deciding to heal someone. Now, of course, because the X and Y buttons only switch, what staff you're aiming at a specific target, certain staffs that don't actually have a specific target, like the Fortify staff, require a separate option on the menu, labelled as just special. So yeah, that's what the special option does. For some reason the rescue staff needs that too, which is kind of weird. Given that the warp staff doesn't use the special option, but that's kind of weird. But anyway, I don't know why this game went with this. I don't know if Awakening have to select your weapon for a menu, or whether they've gone to going with this system, the using X and Y to switch your quick weapons in combat. I mean, I know that in Shadow Dragon this system existed, but it was more of a shortcut, and you could still select your weapons for a menu as normal. But yeah, I don't see why it's removed from this game, but you get used to it. You do get used to it, don't worry. And I just realised I left my poleaxe back at base. Dang it, that would have been really helpful right about now. I love it when Vast one-shot things with the poleaxe. Yeah, I really should have brought the poleaxe, I just realised. Because we're going to be seeing an awful lot of paladins. However, I didn't realise there was a way we could bring it. By standing next to Marth, I have access to the convoy. I can now drop one of my weapons, presumably the hammer, because they're... Oh, maybe not. Yeah, I'll drop the hammer, because, there aren't that many generals here, and okay, I'll pick up my poleaxe, and now I can use the poleaxe, and yeah! So satisfying to knock off the entire enemy's health bar in one shot. Love doing that with Bast. So yeah, always want to keep Marth in your army, because you never know when you need to pull something out of the convoy. If you're like me, you're an idiot, and you forget, yeah, I really should have brought the poleaxe right from the start, because this chapter is, like, seriously, paladin crazy. There are going to be paladins everywhere by the time we're done with this, well, before we're done with this map. Oh boy, and I've heard that on lunatic mode it's even worse. There is, okay, let me just say this. This chapter has probably the most troublesome group of reinforcements since that group of ice dragons back in Unleashed Way. Oh, those ice dragons! Oh, stupid reader, I hate those reinforcements. Anyway, we're ready to move, guys, aren't we? We gotta be careful not to provoke Sedga before it's time, because we can't actually recruit him yet, so we really don't want him to kamikaze himself. Which, you know, recruitable enemies just love to do. Oh, Caesar and Rat. Stupid Caesar and Rat. Yes, 90% of all ways to fail that chapter consist of Caesar and Rat killing themselves. The other 5% is probably the Roro boss. Oh, right. Here's what I was talking about. Well, we got some more paladins here, but one particularly special paladin, and the Proud Commander again. Violet isn't even a commander. Not even close to being a commander. Anyway though, Violent has decided to defy the king's orders and attack us anyway. This is actually a good thing, if we can get to this village. Because Violent, of course, he's an enemy, and he's recruitable. However, we don't have the character who can recruit him just yet. Now, I really hope Sedga doesn't attack us and get critical, because that's not going to be good. So basically, Violent will appear once you visit the village or on the fourth turn of the scene, whichever occurs first. So I guess I provoked this one early. Once you provoke Violent, Sedga's squad also moves out. And this is bad, because we can't recruit Sedga yet. We're going to have to keep him busy until we can recruit Violent, because Violent is the one who recruits Sedga. Now why am I moving Marth over here, they ask? Well, I've got to get Marth to the village now. The only way I'm going to be doing that is with the Warp Staff, but I don't have the Warp Staff now. Or do I? I can use the Convoy to pull the Warp Staff out of storage. See, this is actually really useful. Having your Lords out of the Convoy, useful. You know, back in Blazing Sword, you couldn't do this unless Merlinus was promoted. I still like promoted Merlinus, by the way, just because he makes such a great bolting magnet with his massive evasion. He's like, hey, I'm gonna run around the map and you guys can waste all your boltings on me. I love doing that with you. Uh-oh, that's bad. Because they're gonna double each other. Anyway, let's get to this village. And in this village we meet... Yes, here is Roshi. Now, this has not changed. In the original history of the Emblem, Roshi did join you from this village as normal. But in this game, there is a little bit extra here. In the original history of the Emblem, this conversation ended here, but in the remake, this bit is added. In the original, the rest of the Wolfguard weren't here, but in this game, Roshi starts the chain, as I like to call it. He says here, Violent might listen to him. So, since Violent has appeared right now and is going to attack us if we don't get Roshi to him, now would sound like a good time to get Roshi over to Violent. Well then, let's actually first talk about Roshi. So, Roshi is the first member of the Wolfguard to be smart and defect to us in this game, and in the original history of the Emblem, he was the only one. In this game, you really want to recruit him just because he starts the chain, as I like to call it, that recruits the rest of the Wolfguard. Roshi talks to Violent, and Violent, well, you'll see for yourself later. But how is Roshi as an actual combat unit? Not too great, I'll be honest. Yeah, he still suffers from that pre-promote issue of having bad bases for his level, although luck is oddly high by pre-promote standards in this game. Even then, it's still not that great. And, as you can see, he has good growth rates, but his bases really drag those averages down. Just look at those averages. I mean, they'd be okay by the standards of the original history of the Emblem, but they're not that good by the standards of this game, and that's mostly on virtue of his bases, because his growths are great. So yeah, his growths are kind of wasted, and not only that, he joins so late in the game, he joins around the point where you really should think, yeah, you really don't have time to train up a new party member at this point. Not only that, but Sirius and even Abel are pre-promoted paladins with vastly better averages than him. So if you want a pre-promoted paladin, why not use them? And if you want a paladin, why not use... Actually, any one of the unpromoted cavaliers who's joined so far will probably be more useful overall than Roshi. And, I mean, there's a lot of them. I mean, you were spoiled for choice when it came to paladins in the original game, and this game just gives you even more. So, seriously, you get, massive number of paladins in this game. You're just so spoiled for choice, and to be fair, there's just so many that are better than Roshi. There's really not much reason to use him at all, unless you really like his character. Which I will admit, the Wolfguard are probably some of the most developed characters in this game. They actually have a bit of a story arc to themselves, and for that, yeah, they actually deserve a bit of credit for that. They're actually, yeah, really interesting characters personality-wise, and yeah, though if you want to get their support, I would recommend using the Bomb Drop. That's an item you get off DLC. I'll show that off later, but I'd recommend using that rather than actually having to go through the pain of actually using any of them, because I'll just spoil it for you right here. All the Wolfguard not that great in this game. So, let's go put Roshi to probably the only use he'll be seeing in this whole game. Recruiting his buddy Violent, the sucky member of the Wolfguard. I'll talk more about him when we get to his character thing. But the one we're really concerned about at the moment is Sedgar. We can't recruit Sedgar just yet, but he's going to be attacking us. This is bad, as you can probably tell, because, yeah, there's nothing stopping him from, for example, going for Ryan and getting his face critted off, or maybe even having Nappa syndrome and going for Roshi. So, how are we going to stop well, we're going to stop Violent soon, but how are we going to stop Sedgar from having a Death Wish? Well, you'll see in a bit. Firstly, we want to take... Holy overkill. Ouch. Oh, yikes. I love how Awakening actually shows the damage you do with an attack, because if this was Awakening, that would probably be massive. Anyway, what we're going to do to Sedgar is use a tried and true tactic. When there's a recruitable enemy, you can't recruit just yet, but you want to stop yourself from killing him or him killing you. What do? Well, I'm about to show you. If I can just get rid of this other guy. Just need to make sure I have enough characters to do this. Okay, so firstly I want to get rid of this guy here. Right, that's pretty much everyone who isn't Sedgar's dealt with, although I do need to get rid of that ballista up there. And Wolf is not moving out, so that's good. I probably want to get rid of that ballista just to make sure that Roshi doesn't get hit by it badly, because Roshi, yeah, kind of bad faces. Anyway, Sirius can do that job pretty decently well, especially with aid of the Star Spear. Okay, so now everyone but Sedgar is gone. Now, like I was saying, here is our Big Klingi Tactics Advice 101. What do you do when you've got a recruitable enemy you can't recruit at this point? And you want to stop them from causing harm to themselves or others. What do? Well, you put them in a box. You box them in and make sure everyone you use in the box is unequipped. Well, we don't need to really make sure of that for Sedgar, because Sedgar has a bow. But anyway, basically, what you do is, you get all your characters, make sure they're all unequipped, and, yep, you put them in a box. So now Sedgar is in a box. He can't attack anyone unless they're, if we go into his attack range in a second. They're not bad. Look at his attack range. He can't attack anyone unless they're specifically 2 spaces away from him, where Bast is. Bast will be gone in a while. So basically, Sedgar is now officially out of danger until we are able to recruit him. So yes, the box tactic. I'm pretty sure I've used this at some other time, but you know, most Fire Emblem players have probably figured out about this tactic at some point. Again, yeah, when you've got a recruitable enemy, you can't recruit just yet. Box them in, stops them from becoming a harm to themselves and others. So, Sedgar is, well, he's still got a quote. Now, funnily enough, I actually thought that this quote was the same as his quote in the last chapter, which I showed off. Actually, it's not. It's very subtly different. For one, he didn't say petty ambition in the last time, he just said ambition. So the quote is actually subtly different now. Which is interesting. It's pretty much the same, but still subtly different, and I should be able to get to Violent right now with the aid of Fina. The only thing I'm worried about is whether those extra paladins Violent has brought with him will kill Roshi. Roshi has pretty bad speed, well, yeah, bad speed by the standards of his level, and yeah, if any of those guys have 18 speed, I need to get rid of some of these guys, because otherwise Roshi and Violent, when he defects, might be in danger. So, yep, gotta pick off some of these guys. Getting level up in the process. What did I tell you about experience being plentiful at this point? The promoted enemies here are quite high level, and high level promoted enemies give you lots of experience. Oh, come on, 1 point off, seriously? And given that her strength is maxed, that's actually as far as she'll go. Wow. I will be stuck being 1 point off killing that guy for the rest of her days. And Wogroy, 3 stats max, and only one over her halfway point. Yes, Capture is broken. Anyway, there's Violent, and I really need to keep Militia away, I just realised. Okay, right, I need to get somebody down here, but I don't want to unbox Sedgar, because if I unbox Sedgar, then Sedgar could die. And, whoa, Militia, not good at actual attacking. Her magic stats are supposed to be good, what is up with her? RNG? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, I'll need to keep Fina. Actually, Fina could probably survive one hit from an enemy. It's Militia I'm really worried about because she has this annoying habit of getting double. Anyway, this conversation here is one of the new parts of this chapter. Yes, we can now recruit Violent. In the original Mystery of the Emblem, you couldn't. Violent, Wolf, and Senka both fled the last map and were never seen again. In this game, he's back and he can be persuaded, and funnily enough, this conversation seems to be going the way of, you'd almost think it was a Violent recruiting Roshi, except, given that the recruitment theme is playing, you know that it's going to end in Roshi's favour eventually, so, yeah. All of these three, they actually take some convincing, and, yeah, like I said, they're all pretty interesting characters. Apparently Roshi was always the kindest of them all. And so, yeah, apparently he's got a, yeah, the Wolfguard all consider themselves like brothers. They were originally slaves Hardin freed them freed them all from slavery, and, that's why they're so devoted to you. But, anyway, I probably should talk about Violent now. Oh boy, Violent. Violent, the one member of the Wolfguard who's never been good in any of his appearances. For those of you who are wondering, Roshi was good in the original Mystery of the Emblem, Wolf and Senka were amazing in Shadow Dragon, and Hardin, well, he's always been amazing. Violent, nah, he's always been on the short end of the stick when it comes to the Wolfguard, and he was often considered one of the worst characters in the game, in his original appearances. Now, well, I guess stat-wise he's marginally better than he used to be, but he still suffers from the same problems Roshi did. Joining late with bad bases, and at a high level of that, so not good bases for his level, and he's probably never going to reach level 20 by the end of the game, and his growth's just, even though they're actually, I mean, he's got something vaguely resembling growths now, which is a pretty significant jump for him, I will admit. But still, I mean, they don't do much to save him from those awful bases. I mean, his strength and defense averages, I guess, are pretty decent by the standards of the rest of the Wolfguard. But seriously, he's got his tied for best growth is speed, and look at that speed base. 12 speed. 12 speed as a level 8 paladin? Seriously? I mean, look, that is just awful. I mean, really, really awful. Come to think of it, yes, coming back from Serena's Forest, I just realized Sirius had a 1 point higher base speed as a level 1 paladin. I think that really, really says something about how bad this guy's bases are. And what's worse, he wasn't in the original Mystery of the Emblem, so he has no excuse for having such bad bases. I mean, yeah, the ones who appeared in the original, well, they had to... Well, they keep their stats the same, and in that game everything capped at 20, but the new ones, they have no excuse, so, yeah, I mean, then again, not that Violent really has much of an excuse to be good, because again, yeah, Violent, sorry, this guy has never been good in any of his appearances, really. I guess he's the best he's ever been in this one stat-wise, but that's really saying something if you look at those averages. Yeah, he's still outclassed by just about every other paladin in the game. So, I mean, and also he's probably the most generic personality-wise of the Wolfguard too. Although for some reason he does have a bit of a borderline mimetic following in the Japanese fandom, I have no idea why. Really, I don't know why. For some reason he's ridiculously popular in Japan, to the point of almost being a meme. Again, no idea why. Maybe it's, I don't know, because he's so bad all the time? I don't know, Anyway, just, go away, Violent. On the subject of paladins, when I went back and checked Serena's Forest, I just realized, that, the Awakening character, known as Soul in the Japanese version, the Green Knight of the Red-Green Knight duo, has been revealed to be localized to Stahl. Interesting, I knew they'd change his name because they couldn't really have him sharing the name with the name of the skill, and if they changed Suarez to Sully, I'm guessing, yeah, I wonder if this name change is going to cause controversy like some of the others. I personally like Rong Ku, which sounds awesome, frankly. And better than Rong Ku, which, technically speaking, is the Japanese romanization of that. It's just, yeah. I mean, I kind of like Ronku, but when I found out it was a Longku, like as in a long sound, Ronku, yeah, Longku actually sounds better, makes sense. Anyway, I should probably stop going on about awakening and localizing things, but anyway, we should be finished up with this part soon. Wow, this has been pretty long. Anyway, let's talk about Midia. Yeah, we'll save her in the next chapter. We'll have to wait till then to get her back. Yeah, as if the game isn't throwing us recruitable paladins as is. Right then, Senua is boxed, and I'm gonna be getting violent in soon. But for the time being, Violent and Roshia have to be covering Militia, because she's gonna get splattered by this guy. And, well, will that swing save her from being doubled? I don't know. Okay, the turn after this, basically, I don't know if this triggered after Violent was recruited or based on, ow, stupid ballista, or based off, turn count, but basically, okay, this was a really close call, I will admit. Whew, that was a close call. If this got... Sure, of course, the Killer Lance guy had to be the last one left, and he's, well, doubling Roshi, so that could have ended very, very badly. But, for the time being, let me just say, all those forts around Arcania Palace, they're weren't for show, and this is going to be a common theme in this one. Oh boy. We'll see. I'll talk about this later.